उमज्ञान्तिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So welcome all of you all for a Srimad Bhagavatam overview course. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So today we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 Chapter 4 called The Appearance of Sri Narada. So till now we have discussed 3 chapters. How many of you all are going home and going through the chapters, at least trying for a time? So I hope all of you all have an idea of what the first 3 chapters are about. We are sending the slides also and the video also. Please try to go through it again. So we'll just do like a quick recap of what we have been doing in the first 3 chapters very quickly, and then we'll get into chapter 4. So chapter 1, this is the overview of chapter 3. But chapter 1, what is the title of chapter 1? Questions by the sages. So in chapter 1, first there is a setting of the scene of Bhagavatam, the importance of Bhagavatam and all that. What is the purpose of Bhagavatam? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And the first chapter concludes with 6 questions that the sages of Naimisharanya ask. Anyone remembers what the 6 questions are? What is the first question? What is the ultimate good for people in general? What is the second question? What is the essence of all scriptures? What is the third question? Why did Krishna appear in this world? What is the fourth question? They want to hear about the various Purusha avatars of the Lord. The fifth question, they want to hear about the various Leela avatars. And the sixth question is, after Lord Krishna's departure, after Lord Krishna winds up his pastime, where does Dharma take shelter of? So Srimad Bhagavatam begins with these 6 questions. And answer to these 6 questions are the subject matter of chapter 2 and chapter 3. So in chapter 2 we saw beautiful set of verses where Sutta Goswami explains how bhakti is the highest dharma. The first question was, what is the ultimate good for people in general? So how does Sutta Goswami answer it? He says, Savai Pumsa Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Adakshaje. The ultimate good for people is to do devotional service to Krishna. So Srimad Bhagavatam, the first question itself has the highest answer. That's how Srimad Bhagavatam is. Question 1, what is the ultimate good? Straight, as soon as Sutta Goswami begins to explain, he explains that the highest good for people in general is devotion to Krishna. And he also explains that even question 2, what is the essence of all scriptures? That is bhakti to Krishna. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahetukam. He explains that one who does devotional service to Krishna, automatically knowledge of all other various scriptures are automatically revealed, because Bhakti or Krishna is the essence of all knowledge. Vedescha Sarver Ahameva Vedyo Vedanta Krit Veda Videva Chaham. Lord Krishna says the purpose of all the Vedas, of all knowledge, is to know Krishna. So the essence of all scriptures, the essence of all advice is to do bhakti to Krishna. This was question 1, question 2 being answered in the beginning of chapter 2. Then the third question, why does Krishna appear? We find that answer in chapter 2 also and chapter 3 also. Suta Goswami explains, basically Lord Krishna comes in this world in order to reclaim all of us. Krishna is like the Supreme Father. When he sees that his children are suffering in this world without him, Lord Krishna mercifully comes in this world, does his beautiful pastimes in order to attract all our hearts. This is the third question. The fourth question was, what are the various Purusha avatars? So, in answer to that, Suta Goswami explains 3 kinds of Purusha avatars. Which are the 3 kinds? Karno Dakshai Vishnu, Garbho Dakshai Vishnu, Shiro Dakshai Vishnu. So basically these are the 3 Vishnus who are responsible for the creation and the maintenance in this world. So we find that Purusha Avatar being explained in chapter 2 and even in chapter 3, which we did last time, verse number 1 to 5 explains the 3 Purusha Avatars. What is the purpose of, what is the role of Karno Dakshai Vishnu, what is the role of Garbho Dakshai Vishnu, what is the role of Shiro Dakshai Vishnu. This was an answer to question number 4. Question 5 was, what are the various Leela avatars of Krishna? And that answer comes in chapter 3. What is the name of chapter 3? Chapter 3 is called Krishna, the source of all incarnations. So verse number 6 to 27 of chapter 3 gives 22 incarnations of the Lord. We saw the whole list, right? Even though we did this last week we did Sharad Purnima. So before that we were discussing this huge list. Tattatreya, Prithu Maharaj, Matsya Avatar, Kurma Avatar, and the whole list. And even Krishna, Balaram, all of them are there. But we saw something interesting, that all the various avatars, the word Bhagavan was never used. But as soon as the mention of Krishna and Balaram came, the word Bhagavan was used. And then in text 28, 29, after explaining the whole list of the various avatars, Suta Goswami gives this shloka, Etecha Amshakala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All these various avatars, Rama, Narsimha, Vamana, Matsya, these are all parts or parts of the parts, portions of the portions of Krishna. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations. He is the source of all incarnations. Therefore, Krishna is called an avatari who takes avatar, who takes his various forms. And then chapter 3, so this was an answer to question number 5. Practically the entire chapter 3 is explaining the Leela avatars also. And then there was a little description of the Virat Roop, universal form, which is an imaginary form in order to help people who have a material, who want to see a material form, they get used to the Virat form, so that the idea of form develops in their mind and slowly they move to the understanding of Krishna having a spiritual form. And then chapter 3 concludes with describing the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was also question 6. After Lord Krishna's departure, where does Dharma take shelter of Krishna? So text 43 of chapter 3 says, Krishna Swadamupagate Dharma Jnanadi Bisaha Kalornashta Drishamesha Puranarko Dunoditaha. After Krishna departed from this world along with Dharma, everything else, again Krishna comes in this world in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the sun that has come in this world, in this age of Kali, in order to give light to everyone. So this is how Suta Goswami answers the 6 questions in chapter 2, chapter 3. Now we are entering into chapter 4, which is called the appearance of Sri Narada. How Narad Muni enters into this picture. So this particular chapter has in total how many verses? 33 verses. not a very big chapter. So this chapter is basically divided like this. I'll give you like a overview of this chapter and then we will get into the verses. The first 13 verses, Shaunakadi Rishi asked 3 more questions. So Bhagavatam is basically question answers only. They asked 6 questions in chapter 1, answered in chapter 2, chapter 3. Now, in the beginning of chapter 4, they ask 3 questions. They first glorify Sutta Goswami and they ask 3 questions. What are the 3 questions? Question 1, they want to know what is the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. Why did Vyasadeva write Bhagavatam at all? What was the need, inspiration for him to write Bhagavatam? Question 1. Question 2, which comes in verse 9 to 12, about Parikshit Maharaj. They want to know about the birth, the activities and the departure of Parikshit. This is question 2. And question 3 is they want to know about Shukdev Goswami. How did Shukdev Goswami was such a self-realized soul? How did he meet Parikshit and all that? So 3 questions. And answer to these 3 questions is the rest of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So basically we are in chapter 4. Bhagavatam runs till, first canto runs till chapter 19. Answer to these 3 questions is from chapter 4 till 19. So before you ask question to any great soul, be careful. You may ask 3 questions, but they'll give you a very, very long answer. So you should have that capacity to hear their answer also. Right? So this is how the 4th chapter begins. 3 questions that the sages ask. And then the rest of it, so basically till verse number 13, they have asked 3 questions. Now from verse 14, this chapter itself, Sutta Goswami begins to explain the first question. What is the first question? Why did Vyasadeva write Bhagavatam? So he starts the story. How Vyasadeva, he was seeing the problem that people in Kali Yuga are going to face. Because Vyasadeva is a great soul. He is Trikalagya. He could foresee the issues that people are going to go through. Therefore, what did Vyasadeva do? He divided that one Veda into 4. Originally there was one Veda, he divided into 4. And not only that, he wrote a lot of other Upanishads, he wrote Puranas, which is also called the Pancham Veda, the 5th Vedas. And then he entrusted all the 4 Vedas and the various departments to his various disciples, and different disciplic succession started. And then he also compiled the Mahabharata. Now, the chapter concludes, after Vyasadeva wrote all this, he made that one Veda into 4 Vedas, wrote Puranas, Itihasas, Mahabharata, everything. Still Vyasadeva is not satisfied. Prabhupada actually explains in the next chapter somewhere. So Prabhupada says, the author of Vedas, he is not satisfied after writing Vedas. How will the readers of Vedas be satisfied? So Vyasadeva, after writing the entire Vedic scriptures, and that too not for himself, very selflessly, he is still not satisfied. So Vyasadeva is sitting in his ashram, in Badrika ashram, on the banks of Saraswati Nadi, and he's thinking, why am I not satisfied? I've done everything perfectly. And then Vyasadeva, because he is reflecting, he gets an answer within. What is the answer? The answer that he gets within is, probably I've written all the Vedas, but in all the Vedas I've glorified Krishna indirectly. I've not glorified Bhagavad Dharma. I've given stress to other dharmas, Karma Kand and so many other things. I've not given stress to pure devotional service. Therefore, I'm not feeling satisfied. Right at that moment, when Vyasadeva is reflecting like this, Narad Muni enters into the ashram of Vyasadeva. That's how the chapter concludes. And the chapters ahead, chapter 5, chapter 6 and part of chapter 7 is a conversation between Narada and Vyas. This is like the overview of this particular chapter. Now we will get into the verses actually. So the first 13 verses, as I told you, is Shaunakadi Rishi. They glorify Sutta Goswami and ask 3 questions. Text 1. Vyasa uvacha iti bruvanam samstuya muninam dirgha satrinam vriddha kulapati sutam bravracha shaunako bravi So when Shaunakadi Rishi, they asked 6 questions and Suta Goswami beautifully gave those answers. Shaunak Rishi gets up in order to congratulate Suta Goswami. Right? And Prabhupada explains here that, in Vaishnav culture, there is an etiquette. Now there's a huge assembly. Shaunak Rishi is one, but there are many people who are sitting hearing the pravachan of Suta Goswami. Now, who will stand up and ask questions and who will congratulate Suta Goswami? So, Prabhupada explains here, there has to be certain qualities of one who is speaking on behalf of that assembly, who is representing that assembly. Why does Shaunaka Rishi speak, or why is he chosen to speak? Because Vriddhaha, because he is very, very elderly, experienced and wise. Therefore, he is chosen. So, in the Vaishnav culture, seniority is always respected. Someone who is senior by age, Vriddhaha can be Vayo Vriddhaha, senior by age. It can be Jnana Vriddhaha, one who is senior by knowledge, senior by realization. That seniority is always something to be respected. So therefore, Shaunaka Rishi gets up. Kulapatihi, he was the head of the assembly, and he was Bravachaha, he was very, very learned. So Prabhupada explains here that, so this is the mood, right? So when the right person, when the right qualified speaker like Suta Goswami is speaking, and someone who's qualified, who's sincere like Shaunaka Rishi who's hearing, then in this discussion between the speaker and the hearer, where Bhagavatam is being discussed, there is actual nectar and realization that comes. This is called churning, manthan, right? Just like in Damodar Leela begins with Yashoda doing manthan. So this is manthan of scriptures when you have the right speaker and the right hearer. So Prabhupada explains here, what is the qualification of a speaker? So Prabhupada says, why does Shaunaka Rishi get up and why does he congratulate Suta Goswami? Because in the last verse, if you see chapter 3, last verse, how does it end? Suta Goswami says, Yata Ditam Yata Mati. He says, my dear Shaunakadi Rishi, I am speaking what I have heard from Shukdev Goswami and what I have realized. So therefore, Shaunaka Rishi becomes very happy that this is the right person to hear from. He is not speaking something of his own. He is speaking what he has heard it and what he has realized it. So Prabhupada says, how should we preach? So Prabhupada mentions here, the subject matter should be presented according to time and circumstance, but the original purpose should be maintained. You may present it in a very interesting way, but the purpose, that essence should be maintained. And that is called realization. Realization doesn't mean that you speak something different than what is there in parampara. You are loyal to the parampara and then you speak according to the level of the audience. So Shaunaka Adi Rishi becomes very, very happy and they congratulate Suta Goswami. How do they congratulate Suta Goswami? Text 2. Shaunaka uvacha Suta Suta Mahabhaga Vadano Vadatam Vada Katam Bhagavatim Punya Yataha Bhagavan Shuka. So Shaunakadi Rishi, they are so happy to hear from Suta Goswami. They say Suta Suta Mahabhaga. They mention the name of Suta Goswami twice in great excitement. They are very, very happy because they have got the right person to hear from and they are also very, very eager. So Prabhupada writes here in the purport, Suta Goswami is twice addressed herein out of great joy because he and the members of the assembly were very eager to hear the text of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this eagerness is very, very important. Right? So they are so eager that as soon as they are getting this opportunity to hear from a right person who is speaking in a very humble way, they are very, very happy. And then here it says, Katam Bhagavatam Punyam. This message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is related to Krishna, is very, very pious. It can purify our hearts. So therefore they congratulate Suta Goswami. After congratulating Suta Goswami, they ask the first question, which comes in text 3. This is question number 1. 6 questions they asked in chapter 1, that is answered. Now again in the beginning of this chapter, 3 questions. Question number 1, text 3. Kasmin yuge pravriteyam स्थाने वा केन हेतुना कुतः संचोदिता कृष्णा कृतवान् संमिता मुनि. See something interesting. See, we are learning through Bhagavatam also, we are learning what is Vaishnava etiquette and how Vaishnavas deal with each other. They want to ask 3 questions, but it's not that they have heard answers to the first 6 questions and immediately they are bombarding him with another 3 questions. There's a way. They are thanking him for what he has told, they are congratulating him, they are glorifying him, and then very humbly presenting the next 3 questions. Similarly, when we go in front of Krishna, generally we go in front of Krishna and immediately ask Krishna, please give me this, that. But actually the way is, when you go in front of Krishna, you first glorify Krishna and then you ask. We have this beautiful prayer, Damodarashtakam, which we sing in this month of Kartik. If you see this prayer that Satyavrat Muni has compiled, the first 7 verses he is just glorifying Lord Damodar. And in the 8th verse he is humbly submitting his prayer. So this is the etiquette. When you go to a great soul, when you hear from him, thank him for what he's given you, and then very humbly you present your question. So their first question is, in what period, let me do the breakup, Kasmin Yuge, in which yuga Bhagavatam was written? Sthane va, where it was written? Where was Bhagavatam written? Kena hetuna, for what reason Bhagavatam was written? Why was the need to write Bhagavatam? Vyasadeva has already written so many scriptures. Kuta sanchoditaha, what inspired Krishna Muni? Another name of Vyasadeva is Krishna Dvaipanya Vyas. What inspired Vyasadeva to compile Kritavan Samhitam, to compile the Srimad Bhagavatam? So this is the first question. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, there are so many questions related to Bhagavatam that is asked, not related to so many other Vedas and Itihasas, related to Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam is something that is very, very important. So Prabhupada says here, because Srimad Bhagavatam is completely transcendental, Amal Puran, there are so many inquiries made regarding Bhagavatam. All these questions are intelligent and relevant. Why was Bhagavatam compiled? When it was compiled? Why it was compiled? They want to know this thing in detail. History of Srimad Bhagavatam. Verse number 4 to 8. Beautiful set of verses. Questions about Shukadeva Goswami. So basically Bhagavatam is the conversation between Shuka and Parikshit. So first question was, why did Vyasadeva write Bhagavatam? Second question is about Shukadeva Goswami and about Parikshit. So 4 to 8 is about Shukadeva Goswami. They are asking these questions. Tasya putro mahayogi samadrin nirvikalpaka ekanta matir unnidro guda muda iveyate. Vyasadeva was a great soul. He wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva's son also was a great soul. Tasya putro mahayogi. Vyasadeva's son is who? Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Mahayogi. Mahayogi means the greatest devotee. How can you say Mahayogi is a great devotee? Because Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita already, who is the topmost yogi? One who is a devotee is the topmost. And Shukadeva Goswami, a devotee is a topmost yogi, and the topmost devotee was Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore he is called Mahayogi. Samadran Nirvikalpaka. Shukadeva Goswami was an equibalanced monist. He was a liberated soul right from the beginning. In the beginning of our introduction, the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, we told the story of Shukadeva Goswami, right? When Shukadeva Goswami was in the womb of his mother, he didn't want to come out only, because he was feeling that as soon as I come out, Maya will overtake me. Lord Krishna personally came there to that ashram in Badrika ashram, and Lord Krishna assured this boy, you come out, I promise you Maya will not touch you. In that mood, with that assurance only, Shukadeva Goswami comes out. So right from the womb, he was a liberated soul. Samadran Nirvikalpaka. So Shukadeva Goswami in one sense was a monist. He was born a Brahmavadi. After hearing Krishna's glory, he becomes a Vaishnava. Ekanta Mati. Ekantamati means one whose mind is always concentrated on that oneness, that absolute. Unnidra. Unnidra means he was transcendental to mundane activities. And Gudo Mudo Iveyate, he appeared like a madman. So Shukadeva Goswami, he appeared like a madman. So Prabhupada writes here, the difference between a liberated soul and a materialistic person. Right? The difference is what? A liberated soul is alert to Krishna, and a materialistic person is alert to sense gratification. A liberated soul, he doesn't even look at sense gratification. A materialistic person doesn't even look at Krishna. This is the complete opposite. Like just like Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita, Yanisha sarva bhutana pashyam jagrati sanyami. Lord Krishna says, what is night for a materialistic person is day for a devotee, and what is day for a devotee is night for a materialistic person. So that means a personality like Shukadeva Goswami, purposely he was acting like a madman. Purposely. Why? So that people don't trap him in this world. In Bhagavatam there is story of Jada Bharat. You all know this story? Bharat Maharaj was a great king. At the age of 50, he gave his kingdom to his children and he went to the forest to attain God. But somehow, he got attached to a deer, and in the next life he becomes a deer. He did one mistake, he got attached to the deer. Now in that body of a deer also he was very detached. He wouldn't mix with other deers. He would eat only dry grass and focus on Krishna. And after he gave up that body of a deer, he became a human being again. And this time he was called Jada Bharat. Even though he was born in a Brahman family, purposely he would do everything wrong. Generally what you do, you go to the washroom, after coming out you wash your hands, right, with soap. He would do the opposite. He would wash his hands, go to the washroom, and then after that do nothing. So people called him a mad guy. Why he did this? Because he didn't want to get entangled in this world. He purposely acted like a madman so that people don't disturb him at all. So Shukadeva Goswami externally appeared to be like a mad person. Text 5, Sutta Goswami explains here, what was the standard or what was the level of Shukadeva Goswami? One time, Vyasadeva was following his son. So basically what happens was, as I told you, when Lord Krishna came and gave assurance to Shukadeva Goswami, you come out, Maya will not touch you. Shukadeva Goswami was born from the womb of Satyavati. As soon as he was born, Shukadeva Goswami started to walk. And that too he was born when he was 16 years old. For 16 years he was in the womb of his mother. Now imagine a 16-year-old boy, body is perfectly formed, completely naked. He is just walking out of his house. And Vyasadeva is running after him. My dear son, please come back, please come back. And Shukadeva Goswami doesn't come back only. And when Shukadeva Goswami is walking like this, he passes through an area, a pond, where young girls were taking bath completely naked. And when Shukadeva Goswami passed, these girls also didn't cover their bodies, and Shukadeva Goswami also was not bothered. He just kept walking. And then when Vyasadeva goes at the back, these girls cover the bodies looking at Vyasadeva. So here it is explained, Prabhupada explains here in the purport, what was Shukadeva Goswami's level? He was not seeing anyone on the level of the body. He was seeing everyone on the level of the Atma. Man, woman, these are all dresses. He was not seeing all these dresses. He was seeing everyone on the level of that spirit. That was the level of Shukadeva Goswami. That was how liberated and great he was. So in text 6, they are asking, we can repeat this verse, Katam alakshita pure samprapta kuru jangalan unmatta mukha jadavat vicharan gajasayave. So one time Shukadeva Goswami, he entered into Hastinapur. Hastinapur is Delhi. He entered into a city. So Shaunakadi Rishi have this inquisitiveness. When that Shukadeva Goswami, Unmatta Mukha Jadavat. Unmakka Muda Jadavat is basically, he was apparently like a madman. Can you imagine? Like if you suddenly see like a person who is like completely naked walking, you will like laugh at him, you'll make fun of him. So Shukdev Goswami was walking like this and entered into Hastinapur. So these people have a question, how did people treat him? What was their reaction? Did people recognize him? Could they recognize him or not? So Prabhupada explains here that very important point. A great soul can never be recognized by seeing. By looking at him, you can never recognize someone. How can you recognize a great soul? By hearing. So this Shukdev Goswami, people were thinking that this fellow is a mad guy wandering like this. When that mad person sat on that Vyasasan and when he started to speak, then they understood what he was. So Prabhupada explains here, you can only understand who a great soul is only when he speaks. And what he will speak about? He will only speak about Krishna. His realizations is revealed there. So Prabhupada is saying here, if one is not interested to hear from a sadhu, there is no point just having darshan. That darshan is good, but real darshan of a sadhu is when you hear from him. That's what Prabhupada is mentioning here, right? So, and then the last question they ask about Shukdev Goswami's text 7. Katam va pandave yasya rajarsher muninasah samvada samabhuttata yatraisa satvati shruti. So this is a very interesting question. This Shukdev Goswami was not at all interested in anything of this world. After being born, he didn't spend 1 minute with parents, he just walked away. How did this Shukdev Goswami spend 7 days with a king? How did he spend 7 days with King Parikshit and gave him so much time? They want to know this. What made Shukdev Goswami spend 7 days with King Parikshit? So very beautiful question. And then in text 8, they explain how rare it is to get association of such great souls like Shukdev Goswami. Very beautiful verse, text 8. Sa go dohana matram hi griheshu graha medinam avekshate mahabhaga tirti kurvam tad ashramam. So such a personality like Shukdev Goswami, even when he would go to any householder's house, Griha Medina. What does Griha Medina mean? Griha Medina means householders who are attached to the material world. When such personalities like Shukdev Goswami go to the householder's house, why do they go? They go on the plea of begging something, bhiksha. But actually the purpose is what? Tirti kurvan tad ashramam. So when sadhus go to a householder's house, the main purpose is to make that house into an ashram, to bring Krishna there. So Prabhupada explains here, Shukdev Goswami is the ideal example for any preacher. A preacher, when he meets people, he should not be interested in taking something from them. The preacher's interest is to give Krishna to them in a very detached spirit. And Shukdev Goswami was so detached, how long he would stay in a householder's house? Go doha matram hi. How long it takes to milk a cow? Because generally when sadhus would go, householders would give a glass of milk. And 1 glass of pure milk is enough for the entire day. They would drink that 1 glass of milk and done. Only for that 20 minutes, half an hour, they would spend time. That's all. So why they are telling this question? That Shukdev Goswami, who just spent 20 minutes, 30 minutes with a householder, he has spent 7 days, 7 nights with King Parikshit, which is very, very astonishing. So therefore, they want to hear about Shukdev Goswami and they want to hear about Shukdev Goswami's meeting with King Parikshit. So the answer to this question, how does Shukdev Goswami meet Parikshit, comes in the last chapter of this canto, 19th chapter. Right? To listen to that, you have to wait till the end, 19th chapter. Right? So this was the third question about Shukdev Goswami. Question 1 was history of Bhagavatam. Question 3 was Shukdev Goswami, which comes towards the end. Now question 2 is about Parikshit Maharaj. Beautiful set of verses 9 to 12 about Parikshit. Abhimanyu sutam sutam Prahurbhagavatotamam Tasya janma mahascharyam Karmani cha grinihina. So now they want to hear about Parikshit. Why they want to hear about Parikshit? Why these are sadhus sitting here? Why they want to hear about a king? It's understood they want to hear about Shukadeva Goswami, is a great soul. Vyasadeva has written the Vedas. Why they are interested to hear about a king? Because Prahur Bhagavat Uttamam. Because this fellow is not an ordinary king. Parikshit was the topmost devotee. Just like we have already discussed this point. You can never look at someone and say whether he's a devotee or not. He may look like a madman, he may be in the dress of a king. Just by the look of that person, you can never understand. You can never judge a devotee with externals. So what they want to know about the king, or why they want to know about Parikshit? Because Parikshit's birth, activities, death, all three are wonderful. That's what Prabhupada explains here. The birth of Parikshit, we already saw little of it. Parikshit Maharaj was there in the womb of his mother. And in the womb of his mother, he saw Krishna. So his birth is also wonderful. Only by Krishna's mercy, this child is born. So the birth of Parikshit is wonderful. The activities of Parikshit is also wonderful. Because we'll find in the chapters ahead, when the activities of Parikshit is explained, Sutta Goswami explains that one time Parikshit was wandering in his kingdom and he saw Kali personified trying to kill a cow and a bull. So Parikshit was immediately ready to chastise. So Prabhupada explains here, that means cow is very important for human civilization. And kings like Parikshit, their activities are wonderful because they were not cowards. They were ready to punish people who are offending the cows. So therefore his activity is also wonderful. And his death is also wonderful. Death is wonderful for two reasons. One reason Prabhupada explains here, Parikshit got 7 days notice. In this world, how many people do get a notice? No one gets a notice. So Parikshit at least got a notice. That itself is wonderful. And more than that, at the time of his death, he chose to hear Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami and perfected his life. So the desire is expressed herein to hear about him because everything related to him is wonderful. Everything about Parikshit is wonderful. So in the chapters ahead, when Parikshit's life is explained, all three are explained. His birth, his activities, and then his death, his departure. Text 10. Okay. So samrat kasya vaheto Panduna manavardana Prayopavishta gangaya Anadritya dirachriyam. So basically in text 9, Shaunakadi Rishi asked question about Parikshit's birth and activity. Now in 10, they are asking about his death. So Parikshit, so samrat kasyava hetu. Parikshit Maharaj was a great emperor. Not only a great emperor, all great enemies, they would come and bow down in front of Parikshit. So this verse and the next verse, we will read the next verse also. Text 11. Namanti yat pada niketamatmana Shivaya haniya danani satvara Katam savira shriyam anga dushtajam Yuvai sato srashtum aho sahasubi. Why they want to hear about Parikshit? Because Parikshit's birth activities is wonderful, but just see the level of his renunciation. Parikshit was the greatest emperor, Sir Samrat, explained in text 10. In text 11, it is explained that great enemies, even powerful enemies, would voluntarily come and submit in front of Parikshit. They were so scared of Parikshit, they would automatically come and submit their taxes, bow down in front of Parikshit. Not only that, Panduna Manavardana. Parikshit was born in a great family of Pandavas and he was the right heir for that family. He continued that legacy of that family. And then he was young and powerful, right? He was very, very young and powerful and he had a lot of opulences. Still Parikshit Maharaj, He gave up everything in order to attain Krishna. So this was the level of renunciation of Parikshit. Therefore, Shukdev was Shaunakadi Rishi have this question. Parikshit, who had all the perfect things that anyone else would want, the greatest emperor, power award with above everyone, influence everywhere, born in a great family of Pandavas, young, powerful, everything he had. Still Parikshit, what does he do? Prayo Pavishta Gangayam. He sits on the banks of Ganga and is ready to fast until death. Why does he do this? Why does Parikshit choose the path of renunciation? And then in text 12 they say, great personalities like Parikshit, they, even when they are performing the duties of the king, they are not doing it for their own selfishness. Even when Parikshit was doing the duties as a king, why was he doing it? Shivaya Lokasya Bhavaya Bhutaye. He was doing it as a representative of Krishna in order to bring welfare for everyone. So such a great king who was a perfect representative of God now is ready to wind up his pastime. Why does he do this? This is the question. So basically, till here they have asked three questions. The first was about the history of Bhagavatam, verse number 3. Then verse number 4 to 11. 4 to 11 was about Shukdev Goswami. And then 12 to whatever. What are the last words? 4 to 8 was. Yeah. Let me just go back. Yeah. 4 to 8 was Shukdev Goswami and 9 to 12 was about Parikshit Maharaj. Got it? So these are three questions that come in the beginning of the 4th chapter. Now from verse 14 onwards, Sutta Goswami starts to explain question 1. So from verse 14 of 4th chapter, 5th chapter, 6th chapter and the first half of 7th chapter, question 1 being answered. 4, 5, 6, 7. 4 chapters answering question 1. So now he is starting to begin to explain why Vyasdev wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 14. Suta uvacha dvapare samanu prapte tirte yuga paryaye jata parasharad yogi vasavyam kalaya hare. So what happens was, at a particular junction, when two yugas overlapped, Vyasdev was born to Parashar Muni. Now, as I told you, to explain a certain story, you have to go a little back and explain. Now he's asked, why did Vyasdev write Bhagavatam? He's explaining how Vyasdev was born. So Vyasdev was the son of Parashar Muni and Satyavati. We know that this Satyavati was the daughter of a fisherman, and Parashar Muni, and through Parashar Muni and Satyavati, Vyasdev was born. So when was he born? When there was overlapping of two yugas. What does this overlapping mean? So Prabhupada explains here, actually there are 4 yugas. What are the 4 yugas? Satya. After Satya there is Treta, no? Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali. But actually Prabhupada explains, the actual sequence is Satya, Dwapar, Treta, Kali. Dwapar means 2, Treta means 3. So 2 comes before 3 or 3 comes before 2? 2 comes before 3, right? So it is Satya, Dwapar, Treta, Kali. That is the sequence always. But this Yuga cycle is the 28th round of that Vaivasvata Manu. Every Manu has 71 Yuga cycles that goes on in every Manu. This is the 28th Yuga cycle of Vaivasvata Manu going on, the 7th Manu. So in this Yuga cycle, there was an interchange. The Treta comes before Dwapar. Why does it come? There's an interesting story. We know this story of Ahilya and Gautam Rishi, right? You know the story? So one time Ahilya gets attracted to Indra, and when Gautam Rishi comes to know this story happens in Satyuga. So Gautam Rishi curses Ahilya that you become a stone. Ahilya seeks forgiveness. So Gautam Rishi says, okay, when Ram comes in Treta Yuga, Ram will deliver you. So this was Satya Yuga. So Hailya was thinking, I have to wait for Dwapar and then Treta. So Gautam Rishi, very mercifully for his wife, he interchanged the yugas. That was the power of Gautam Rishi. So this particular yuga, the yugas are interchanged. So Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali. So in this particular yuga cycle, Vyasdev appears. Right? That's how Vyasdev's birth is explained. Text 15. Sa kadachit saraswatya upasprashya jalam shuchi vivikta eka asina udite ravi mandale. Vyasdev's ashram is still there in Badrikashram. If you all go there, you will see Vyasdev's ashram. So Vyasdev got up one day, Sa kadachit, at one particular time, Vyasdev got up very early, took his bath in Saraswati Nadi, and he sat there in meditation, in concentration, right? So Prabhupada explains that this place is still there, called Samya Prasha in Badrikashram. So when Vyasdev sat in meditation, what did Vyasdev see? Text 16. Paravaragya sa rishihi kalena vyaktaramasa yuga dharma vyatikramam praptam bhuvi yuge yuge. So Vyasdev, because he could foresee the future, Prabhupada explains it, such great souls are trikalagya, they can see the past, they can see the present, they can see the future. So he could see Yuga Dharma Vyatikramam. So he could understand that now Kali Yuga is going to start. And Kali Yuga means lot of problems, lot of anomalies, lot of changes, lot of abnormal things are going to happen in Kali Yuga. Therefore, he became concerned. What should be done for the people of Kali Yuga? And what are the anomalies in the age of Kali? That is explained in text 17 and 18. Kali Yuga qualities. Bhautikānām ca bhāvānām shaktirishām ca tatkritam ashraddhānam nissattvām durmedān rishitayusha Durbhagam cha janan vikshya munir divyena chakshusha sarva varnashramanam yad dadyohitam amogadrik munir divyena chakshusha. Vyasdev had Divya Chakshu, he had transcendental eyes, and Amogadrik. Amogadrik matlab, he was equipped with knowledge. He had transcendental vision, he could see the issues in the future, he was equipped with knowledge, and not only that, Dadyo Hitam, he was concerned for the people in general. So when you have a personality who has these three qualities, one is Divya Chakshu, he can see he can foresee what's going to come in future. Not only that, he has knowledge. He can see the problems, but he has knowledge how to deal with the problems. And more than that, he has compassion for the people who are going to come in future. So Vyasdev had all these three qualities. And with these three qualities, he could foresee the degradation of Kali Yuga. And what's the degradation of Kali Yuga? That's in the mindsets of the people in Kali Yuga. So what is going to happen in the age of Kali? Vyasdev writes here, Shakti Risham. Shakti Risham means the bodily strength reduces in Kali Yuga, right? And we are actually seeing that bodily strength is reducing. Previously, kings, they would lift Shivaji's swords and all that, so powerful. Now you can't even lift it. 10 people can lift it. Bodily strength has reduced. Not only bodily strength, strength of everything reduces. Prabhupada explains here, land doesn't produce vegetables like what it used to do before. And even if it produces vegetables and grains, those grains and vegetables don't have any energy. Even their Shakti is reduced. Milk is not that powerful, it's not that nourishing. So in Kali Yuga, everything, the strength of everything reduces. Bodily strength, nourishment, food, everything reduces. Not only that, Ashraddha Dhanam, the age of Kali is filled with faithlessness, atheism. They don't believe in God at all. That's like the normal culture. That's the cool culture of Kali Yuga. Nisatwan. Nisatwan means there is no mode of goodness. In order to understand Krishna, you need mode of goodness. Kali Yuga is a time when there is passion, ignorance everywhere. Nisatwan, hardly mode of goodness. People are very, very impatient. Durmedam, dull-witted. They don't have intelligence also. Rishita Ayusha, their age is reduced. And Durbhagan, very, very unlucky. So Vyasdev could see the issues that people in Kali Yuga are going to face. And Vyasdev was very, very eager to help people. So Prabhupada explains here, personalities like Vyasdev, Narad Muni, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, they are such great personalities who have compassion in their hearts. They can see the issues of people and they know the solution and they want to give that solution. Srila Prabhupada, just like Vyasdev writes Srimad Bhagavatam in order to give solution for people in general, Srila Prabhupada, following in the mood of following the footsteps of Vyasdev, Prabhupada writes Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada writes Bhagavatam in English. Vyasdev wrote it in Sanskrit, but Prabhupada writes it in English. Because Prabhupada wanted that this message should reach the foreign world. And Prabhupada sat in Vrindavan, he collected money, he did so much austerity to write Bhagavatam. Why? Because this is the solution for people in general. So what did Vyasdev do? When he saw that people in Kali Yuga are having all these issues, the first thing Vyasdev did was, he divided that one Veda into 4. Text 19. Chaturhotram karma shuddham Prajana viksha vaidikam Vedadad yagya santaityai Vedam ekam chaturvidam. So the Vedas mentioned various yagya for purification. So basically Vedas has 4 kinds of yagyas. Chaturhotram karma shuddham, in order to purify one's karma. So if you study actually Bhagavatam, the 2nd canto, 3rd canto, see who actually spoke the Vedas? Brahma spoke the Vedas. And where did Brahma learn Vedas from? From Krishna. Tene Brahmaradaya Adi Kaviye. Brahmaji was sitting on the lotus flower meditating. Krishna played his flute from Golok Vrindavan. And that flute entered, the sound of the flute entered into the ears of Brahma, entered into the heart of Brahma, and Krishna gave Diksha to Brahma in the Vedas. And Brahma has 4 mouths. Through his 4 mouths, he spoke Vedas. One mouth spoke the Atharva Ved, one mouth spoke the Yajur Ved, each mouth spoke one Vedas. But when it came together, all the verses became all mixed up. And it was compiled into one Veda, which is called Yajur Veda. So Prabhupada mentions here, initially there was only one Veda, which had all the mantras that Brahmaji had given in one place. But all the mantras were mixed up. And Vyasdev understood that people in Kali Yuga anyway have less intelligence, they will not be able to understand this. He divided that one Veda, Yajur, into 4. This section of verses he put in this section he put in this. It's like he did like a sorting basically. Like if you have 4 kinds of jewels all mixed up together, blue, yellow, green, So Vyasdev basically sorted it and made 4 Vedas, right? And for the benefit of people in general. So these are the divisions of the Vedas. Text 20. Rig Yajur Sama Atharvakya Veda Chatvara Udrita Itihasa Puranam Cha Panchamo Veda Uchyate. So these are the 4 Vedas: Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sama Ved, Atharva Ved. And the 5th Ved is called Panchama Veda Uchyate. What is the 5th Ved? Itihasa Purananam. All the Puranas, Itihas together are called the Pancham Ved, the 5th Ved. So these are 5 Vedas: Rig Ved, Sam Ved, Yajur Ved, Atharva Ved, Puran. So Vyasdev divided that one Vedas into so much. And this is a lot. How many verses are the Vedas? 1 lakh verses. So much Vyasdev did. He divided into all that. Now after compiling all that, is it done? You have to teach also, na? The message has to go. So after dividing this, what did he do? he chose each of his disciple and gave them one Veda. Gave them one Veda, entrusted them and told them, now you please take care of this Veda and continue your disciplic succession. So like that, the next 3-4 verses explain who are the various professors of, Prabhupada uses the word professors, right? So we shouldn't consider rishis of the past to be just ordinary people. They were great professors. So who are the various professors of the various Vedas? Text 21. Tatraga Veda Dara Paila Samago Jaimini Kavi Vaishampayana Evaiko Nishnato Yajusam Uta. So basically, Paila Rishi became the head, the main professor of Rig Veda, Jaimini Rishi for Sam Ved, Vaishampayana for Yajur Ved. Text 22. Atarva Angirasham Aset Samantur Daruno Muni Itihasa Purananam Pitame Roma Harshana. And then Sumantu Muni Angira became the main professor of Atharva Ved. And who's speaking this? Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami had a father called Romaharshan Sut, whom Balaramji had killed actually. And then it came to Sutta Goswami. That Romaharshan Suta was a disciple of Vyasdev and he became the professor of Puranas. That was entrusted to him. Not only this, after doing this, all these people created a disciplic succession, which is explained in 23. Ta eta rashayo vedam swam samvyasan anekada shishye parashishye tadshishye vedaste shakino bhavan. So this is a disciplic succession. So all these professors, they had disciples, grand disciples, disciples of their disciples, like this. And the whole lineage, and it still continues. If you go like Sri Rangam and all these places, you'll have this disciplic succession of people studying Samved, Rigved, all that still going on. So in this way, Vyasdev did his best to help people of Kali Yuga. Why is he doing all this? This is like a big task. It's not an ordinary task. To write all this itself is like humanly impossible. Therefore, Vyasdev is a Shaktavesh avatar. Not only writing it, he made departments, he made disciples, he entrusted, taught them, made a whole process. Why is he doing all this? To help people of Kali Yuga. That's his whole idea. After doing all this, Vyasdev still he wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So I'll not read the next 2 verses. So basically it says, Vyasa Kripana Vatsala. Vyasdev, whose heart is filled with so much compassion, he also wrote Mahabharata. Why did he write Mahabharata? Because, people of Kali Yuga, see, the 4 Vedas are very, very technical. Very, very technical, very high level of philosophy. How many people can digest philosophy in this world? I know so many people who start Bhagavad Gita and for years they are stuck in first chapter. They read first chapter, they have not understood, they read first chapter, eternally stuck. And Bhagavad Gita is like still quite simple. The Vedas are very complex to understand. So Vyasdev very mercifully compiled Mahabharata. And what is Mahabharata? Mahabharata is a storyline. And Prabhupada writes in the purport here, everyone loves stories. Philosophy you may go to sleep, but stories everyone loves. But in Mahabharata, right in the center is Bhagavad Gita. And what is Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is the essence of Vedas only, which has come in the Mahabharata. So in the full storyline, Bhagavad Gita is there. So that through that story, the message of Gita, which is the message of the Vedas, can reach people. So Prabhupada explains, this is the master plan of Krishna and Vyasdev. Krishna is also God, Vyasdev is also an avatar of God. Both of them have made a master plan. And what is the master plan? Krishna created the storyline of Mahabharata and Vyasdev wrote the storyline of Mahabharata. Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, Vyasdev wrote Bhagavad Gita. So it's a collaboration between both of them so that people in Kali Yuga can somehow get delivered. That's the whole idea. So now Vyasdev has worked so hard. Can you imagine this? We give Nobel Prize to some small person who has done some research. Can you imagine what Vyasdev has done? It's a huge, huge task. We cannot even imagine it. So Vyasadeva writes all this for what? For the welfare of people. But the interesting part is, after doing all this homework, after doing all this exercise, still Vyasadeva is dissatisfied. Text 26. Evam pravritasya sada bhutanam shreyasi dvija sarvatmikinapi yada natusyat hridayam tata na atusyat, not satisfied. Still, after doing all this, Sutta Goswami explains, even after working completely for the total welfare of people, he was still not satisfied. He was not feeling happy. He was feeling that something is missing. And what was the reason for that? Vyasadeva begins to reflect. He begins to reflect. So here we are seeing a level of honesty. Right? After writing so much, someone may think that, I am done, whatever it is. But Vyasadeva is still very contemplative. Right? He's still connected to his inner heart, his inner emotions. He's very honest. So Vyasadeva is reflecting, why I'm not satisfied? I've done so much for the people in general, for the welfare of people. And Vyasadeva, when he reflects, what the answer comes, that is explained in 28, 29, 30. So Prabhupada explains in the purport here, everyone, until someone is satisfied, one should keep searching. Prabhupada explains, perfection is never attained until one is satisfied. And to be satisfied, one has to search beyond matter. One has to search beyond matter. Vyasadeva has written Vedas. Many of the branches in the Vedas are related to matter, related to material things. But Vyasadeva, because he didn't search beyond matter in Krishna, he was experiencing that dissatisfaction. So Vyasadeva, when he begins to reflect, he first reflects on the efforts that he has put before he tries to find out why he is not satisfied. Text 28, 29. Dhrita vritena hi maya chandamsi guravognaya manita nirvailikena grihitam chanushasanam bharata vyapadeshena hi amnayartascha padashrita darshate yatra dharmadi stri shudradibir api uta. So Vyasadeva is reflecting, what is my effort that I put? Where I have missed? What has gone wrong? So Vyasadeva he's thinking, Dhrita vritena, I have undergone very strict disciplinary vows. Not only that, nirvyalikena, that means I have unpretentiously worshipped the Vedas and Gurus. So Vyasadeva is reflecting that my vows have been very pakka. I don't have any pretension. I have done things very honestly. And not only that, I have followed all the rules and regulations. It's not that I've done something on my own. I've been very anushasanam. I've been very traditional in my disciplic succession. I've followed all the rules. I've followed the parampara. Still, I'm not feeling satisfied. And then when Vyasadeva is thinking like this, in text 21, Vyasadeva gives the answer, the possible reason why he is not satisfied. So we learn a very important lesson here. When we are very sincere, even if we do some effort and we are not successful, but if you are very sincere and we are praying sincerely to Krishna, Krishna will give that answer from within. Why you are not experiencing satisfaction? Krishna will definitely help you. Lord Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajata priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. If you are very sincere, Krishna will definitely give that answer from within. So Vyasadeva, he comes to his own conclusion why he is not satisfied. Because he is the author, he knows what he has missed. Because he is thinking deeply. And why he is not satisfied is explained in text 31, which is a very important verse. Kimva bhagavata dharma na prayena nirupita प्रिया परमहंसानां त एव हि अच्युत प्रिया. So Vyasadeva is thinking, rest everything is good in me. Perfect disciplinary vows, I have followed all the rules, I have been strict to parampara, I have done whatever I have done for the welfare of people, nothing for me. The only thing I think that I have missed out is Kimva Bhagavata Dharma no prayena nirupita. I have not specifically pointed devotional service. So what is Vyasadeva's mistake, which Narad Muni, he will explain this in detail in chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6. But what Vyasadeva has done, he's written the Vedas. He's glorified bhakti also. But he's glorified bhakti and he's glorified all the other processes also. So at the end, people have got confused because Vyasadeva, with that same mood, is glorified Bhagavad Dharma. In that same mood, is glorified Jnana Marg, Karma Marg, he's glorified everything. So people are confused. He didn't specifically point out that of all the process, bhakti is the supreme. That one thing he has missed. And Prabhupada gives a very beautiful purport. The dissatisfaction of Vyasadeva is expressed in his own words. And what is the dissatisfaction for? Every human being can only be satisfied when he is in the normal condition of life. And what is normal condition? The normal condition is pure devotional service. That's the normal condition. Abnormal condition is when one is not performing Shuddha Bhakti. So Vyasadeva could immediately detect that I have not pointed out the actual remedy. I have confused people. I have not clearly explained them what they should do. So this defect was felt within him by himself. And as soon as Vyasadeva was reflecting like this, or as soon as he got this answer, right at that time, Narad Muni enters. So here this verse says, Priya Prema Hamsanam Te Eva Hi Achyutta Priya. This devotional service, Bhagavad Dharma, is very dear to Paramahamsanam, liberated souls. And this Bhagavad Dharma is also very dear to whom? Krishna. So therefore this Damodar Leela, this Damodar month, is so much celebrated, and Krishna is proclaiming to everyone that I am conquered by Mother Yashoda. And who's Mother Yashoda? Mother Yashoda is a devotee. And that rope that Mother Yashoda uses is the rope of bhakti. So through Damodar Leela, through Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna is showing all of us the only thing that is dear to him is the process of bhakti. And the only people who are dear to him are the devotees of Krishna. So therefore, Bhagavata Dharma, Savai Pumsa Paro Dharmo, this highest religion, Bhagavad Dharma, is the essence. So just as Vyasadeva is reflecting within, right at that moment, Narad Muni enters. Narad Muni's timings are perfect. He knows where to reach when. And Prabhupada explains in one place, how does Narad Muni know where to reach when? Because Narad Muni doesn't plan his life. Krishna plans for him. Right? Krishna is there in everyone's heart. So Prabhupada explains something very nice. Vyasadeva was feeling dissatisfaction. Why Vyasadeva was feeling dissatisfaction? Because that dissatisfaction was given in Vyasadeva's heart by Krishna. So that Vyasadeva could compile Bhagavatam. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna became confused, depressed. How can a pure devotee become depressed? That depression was given by Krishna so that Arjuna could be the medium for us to get Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, Vyasadeva is here feeling dissatisfied so that he can write Srimad Bhagavatam. And Narad Muni, how does he reach there? Because Krishna is there in everyone's heart. Krishna is there in Vyasadeva's heart. Krishna is there in Narada's heart. So Vyasadeva was feeling that something is wrong in me, something is missed. So that Krishna who is there in Vyasadeva's heart tells Narada, please go to Vyasadeva. So Narada doesn't make any plan of his own. He just follows Krishna's will. Wherever Krishna sends him, he goes. So Krishna inspires him to come here. Text 32-33 is Narada's entry. Tasaivam kilam atmanam manyamanasya kidyata krishnasya narado bhyagat ashramam prag udharatam. Just as Vyasadeva is thinking like this, Narad Muni reaches at that point. Narad Muni enters there. So Prabhupada explains here in the purport. So basically that same point, that this dissatisfaction was inspired by Krishna. So now when Narad Muni comes there, what does Vyasadeva do? Vyasadeva is so eager to see his Guru. Very beautiful verse, text 33, which is the last verse. Tam abhigyaya sahasa pratyutya gatam muni pujayam asa vidivan naradam surapujitam tam abhigya sahasa. Seeing that suddenly Narad Muni has come, Vyasadeva becomes very, very happy. Because to see such a great soul is a great fortune. After great blessing one gets to see. Vyasadeva immediately gets up and he starts to worship his Guru, because Narad Muni is the son of Brahma. Just like Vidhi means Brahma. Just like worship is given to Brahma, the supreme Guru, similarly he starts to worship Narad Muni. So Prabhupada explains here a very beautiful mode. Who is Vyasadeva? See, when we celebrate Guru Purnima, in a year there is Guru Purnima, no? What is Guru Purnima, you know? Guru Purnima is the birthday of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is considered to be the Guru of everyone, because he is the one who has written all the Vedas. But that Guru of everyone, he also has a Guru. And when his Guru comes, Vyasadeva is like a humble disciple in front of him. So this is Vaishnav Marga. However powerful you may be even Vyasadeva, but you also have a Guru and you also are submissive to your Guru. Not only that, we will see in the next chapter when we do it, Vyasadeva is falling at the feet of his Guru and tells him, please tell me what is the problem in me. You please correct me. And then Narad Muni, left, right, center, is chastising Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva is hearing that also. So this is that mood. This is the mood of Parampara, that every sincere Guru or every powerful Guru, he himself is a humble disciple in front of his own Guru. This is the mood that continues. So Vyasadeva's Guru is Narada, Narada's Guru is Brahma, and Brahma is submissive to Krishna. So this is that Guru Shishya Parampara. And we have already seen this Parampara that is going on now. Sutta Goswami, he is asked questions by Shaunaka Rishi, and Sutta Goswami is answering, offering his respects to Shukdev Goswami. Shukdev Goswami himself has learned from Vyasadeva. So this is the Parampara, being very loyal to your own Guru and your predecessor Acharyas. So very beautiful mood where Vyasadeva himself, being such a powerful Acharya, he gets up and very respectfully worships Narada, treating him as equal as Lord Brahma. So basically the summary of this chapter, in essence, basically this chapter 4 is 3 questions by Shaunaka Rishi. Verse number 3, when, where, how, and what was the inspiration for Vyasadeva to write Bhagavatam. Verse number 9 to 11 about Parikshit Maharaj, his birth, activities, death. All 3 wonderful. And 6 to 7 is about Shukdev Goswami, such a liberated soul. How did he meet Parikshit, and all that. But they want to hear about Shukdev Goswami. So this is the overview of chapter 4. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anyone has any questions, any comments?
इसमें आपने बताया पुरुष अवतार, लीला अवतार, गुण अवतार का कोई
गुण अवतार गुण अवतार के बारे में बताया है, आगे भी आएगा. If you remember in chapter 2 there was a mention about Guna avatars. There was a mention about Guna avatars, and it was specifically mentioned that Vishnu is still supreme. There was mention about the Guna avatars, that how the various devatas are in various gunas. A devotee of Krishna offers respects to everyone, but he worships Krishna. Offer respects to everyone, but your worship is for Krishna. That point was mentioned there. If you see chapter 2, you will see those set of verses. Okay?
Brahma did not write anywhere. The Vedas are written.
So good question. So previously, very interesting question. See, in the beginning of Kali Yuga, Vyasadeva writes Vedas. it's not that Vedas was only there at the beginning of Kali Yuga. Vedas has been there right from Satyuga, from the time of creation. But in previous yugas, people were very intelligent. So people didn't need to have anything written. They were Shrutidhar. They would hear it once and that's it. They would know everything. So previous to Kali Yuga, there was no written books. There was no written books because it was all passed down through guru disciple and oral reception, oral system. So there was no written books. And because Kali Yuga was starting and people's memory is going to reduce, people are not going to remember, therefore Vyasadeva decided, let me sit and write it. Because people of Kali Yuga will need things in a written format. That's why it is mentioned that he started to write at this point.
He wrote or Ganesha?
So Vyasadeva dictates and then Ganesha writes, yes.
All the Vedas.
Yeah.
All the Vedas also
Mahabharata, yeah. I don't know about all Vedas, probably all Vedas also, I'm not sure. But Mahabharata for sure. Heard about Mahabharata. Vedas, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, in Badrikashram there is Vyas Gufa and below there is Ganesh Gufa. So, this being Damodar month, we will quickly do Damodar Ashtakam. We will sing Damodar Ashtakam and then offer Deepdan to Lord Krishna. So, you all can turn towards the altar. You can feel free to.